Hello. Are we here? Yes. Let's start. Okay, so welcome to this presentation. Before we start, I want to, first of all, welcome everyone and hopefully see more and more people joining. We're going to have a lot of fun today, so wait a few more minutes to everyone to join. Get your drinks, get your snacks. Okay, can we start? Just being here, Shalev. We're good, yes. Okay, so let's start. So before we start, I want you to think about a simple question. How much of your ad performance today is based on data that you can actually trust? Because for many advertisers, the answer is less than they think. Okay, so who is familiar with the scenario, for example, that you go into your Google Ads or Meta or TikTok, and you pray that you hit the right audience, or you got the conversion, or you manage to ramp up the ROAS, right? So, and there are a lot of things that have to do with that, and affect that performance. But in general, the creative is very important for that. But there are also another behind the scene part where you actually control 100%. That's the targeting. That's the what kind of signals you're sending into the platforms. Okay, it has to do with about 30% of the performance for your ads. So that's something that we will discuss today. Mostly the things that are affecting that is cookies disappearing, browser limiting tracking, ad blockers, users buying on mobile, coming into mobile and then converting on desktop, they buying on multiple days after they have made a lead, so like an offline conversion or a conversion that happened on a phone call. Now, all that we're going to discuss today. But before that, my name is Daniel Saada. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Data Lemon. We are a full-service analytics agency. We are using all the tools that are in the market for collecting all the data, collecting right user behavior, and sending that into the platforms. Let's dive in. Today we will discuss, first of all, the problem that I just described. How does that affect your performance? How that is showing in your campaigns. We will see the identity gap that is coming into effect more and more as the years go by. We will discuss the solution, enhanced conversion, of course, one of them, but there are other things that we need to discuss, and we need to see how they solve our problems. We will discuss server-side tracking, which is a big part that is coming in more and more in today's world, and we will see how that works in Facebook and TikTok, of course, Google Ads. And another thing that I think some people neglect is the offline conversion and CRM conversions, where we see an example how you can connect your data and get fresh data into your system and feed the platform with the right signals. Hopefully, we'll have some time for questions, and if it will be interesting for people, we can, of course, answer questions. You can dive in? Yes. All right, so let's define the problem. The problem, we have not started at 2017, but this is a good place to start. This is when Apple launched ITP. It's basically limiting the amount of data that we can collect from the device, from Apple devices. That happened in 2017. Later on, we had GDPR, which people that were in the industry at that time, that was a huge headache for a lot of data people, a lot of marketeers, when you have to get consent from the users. 2019, Firefox added their restrictions. 2020, CCPA entered the US market. That's their version of GDPR. It's a bit different. It's not exactly the same, But again, a lot of limitation in terms of data collection. And 2021, when we really started to see limitation in tracking, when iOS 14 changed tracking forever. And why is it changed forever? Because now every time you need to, you want to collect some data about the user, you have to get their consent. And that is, of course, another barrier. It's again, we are not against it, but that is the barrier. We want to collect the data and give good signals to the platform, and of course, optimize your budget. All right, 2023, Universal Analytics. That's a place where Google were forced to change their platform, forced to change Universal Analytics, a good old and loved Universal Analytics, and change it to the platform that we know now, Google Analytics 4, GA4. So that's a big change, and that happened 2023. After that, Chrome began restricting third-party cookies, which is also a big, major change. And in the future, we'll have more. So there are always more and more. Those are the big changes. Of course, in between, we had small changes and small updates that affected the tracking first, but those are the big pictures, big stories that happened during that time. Maybe I missed one, but of course, there's always you can always dive deeper into that. Next, let's talk about why the break. Why you have what type of category that we're talking about? What kind of problem that we're facing? So as I split them into 4 categories. So the first one is cookie restrictions, and that is happening a lot in Safari and other browsers that are limiting the cookie lifetime for I wrote 7 days here, but it could be less. And some browsers are using AI tools that limits the lifetime of the cookie based on user interaction, based on user history, etc., etc. Other part is ad blockers, where people have ad blockers. That's very straightforward. They have an ad blocker. They get into your website. The ad blocker decides what is being collected. So any marketing pixels that is on the site, any data collection on the site is basically not there anymore. It's blocked. Cross-device. Users go between devices. They own multiple devices. We all own multiple devices. I have a tablet and a phone and a laptop and a computer. So those devices, we behave in the same way in those devices, but some websites and in some way there's a gap. There's data gap between those devices. And of course, there's a signal loss where the algorithm is not getting the right data. They basically have a problem with our data collection. There's a problem with the setup that you have there. So if I'm summing it up, let's say you're really in the dark here now in those days. If I say like 20% of users have ad blockers, 40%, 50% have Safari browsers, you basically very limited of what you can recognize with those users. And let's say you also have the consent barrier, which something between 50 to 30% refuse consent, then you're really in the dark here, right? As an advertiser, you really want to know where you want to, what are those users are doing. So, for example, if I give you a small analogy for that case, you can imagine there's a shopping mall where all the people are coming in and buying, and once they buy something, they leave. But before they leave, the browser or the device rip their sticker, their badge, their history, and when they leave, we don't know anything about those users anymore. Once they come back, they are basically anonymous, and we treat them as new users instead of returning customers, which are easier to convert, of course. So, and that's what the browsers are doing when we are working with all those restrictions. So, what you can see here, this is exactly what the gap is, and I think most of you can identify with this scenario here. So, users are clicking the ad. Okay, the conversion happened. Okay, this is basically a lower number of people that click the ad. So a lot of people click the ad, some people convert, but then the platform needs to know who those users are, and that we discussed. So what the solution that we're going to see now, basically make the guard at the exit of the mall not ripping the stickers anymore and letting those people go. And then when they come back with their sticker on, we can identify those users again and treat them as returning customers and treat them nicely, because they already bought with us, the returning customers. We want to treat them nicely and get them to buy more and more. So that is the analogy. The solution that we want to talk about here right now is the enhanced conversion. right? The enhanced conversions is basically a method where you send in some kind of private identifier. In this case, the example that I wrote here, it's an email, but part of that could be a phone number, as I said, email, first name, last name, geolocation, so postal code, country, address, things that can identify the user and help the platform understand who those users are. Okay, this is very, very important. And one of the ways that we are doing it, because again, we want to be privacy aware, we can also hash this data. Okay? And the way we hash it is usually the platform will ask for SHA-256. It's a bit technical, but this is the hashing algorithm that the platforms are using. And why is it important to use that algorithm? It's because this algorithm hashes the value in the same way across everywhere. So if you have one email, or let's say a string, and you want to hash it with this platform, with this algorithm, it gets hashed. But then if you hash the same string once again, sorry, the same email, you hash it once again, it will produce the same ID. Okay, so it will produce the same output, the same value. So that, and in this case, you have two events with two different, let's say two different events that both of them hashed the same email. The outcome will be that we have an anonymous ID that belongs to that email. So that email is now, again, the platform do not know about this email, but it knows that this email has done the same, both of those events, right? So that's the technical aspect of the conversion, of the enhanced conversion. And so this is basically how it works. Let's continue here and see the full data flow here, how it works. So you have the interaction, the actual, the purchase of the filling of the form. You have the hashing, which happens usually on the browser or the server, depends where you want to do the tracking. Again, we were talking about in this example that we will discuss today is mostly Google Tag Manager. This is the tool that we are mostly working with, but not always. Sometimes we do it also with JavaScript and across website as well. Then once we have the data, we transmit it into the platform, and the platform is matching that ID or that email or that identified information to the customer that they know on their end. Okay, so let's imagine like this. If, for example, I have an email, right? A user that let's say you give me your email, right? It's a Gmail. The maximum I can do with this email is to send you an email, right? As Daniel, I can send you an email. But if you give that email to Google and you say, who is this user? What can you do with this email? Then they can do everything, because if it's a Gmail, they already have all your email. They read all your email. Okay. If it is a Gmail and you have an Android account and you have a Chrome browser, so they know what you're searching for and what you're browsing, what your browsing history. So they have all the data about you. They have everything about you. And this is really important to understand, because those users that basically gave all their data to Google, now Google knows what their intent is, what is their next move. How can they, and basically give you what the next move for that user. And of course, Google is all about advertising. Then what happened there is that Google will know what kind of ad to serve you. And it's not only Google. It's also Facebook. It's also TikTok, because those platforms also have your phone number. They also have your email. When you open the account, you share their email with them. So they have they have that information. Okay, and it doesn't matter. So let's imagine also you haven't sent them in the email. If you're sending the pixel in the right way and you're sending it, let's say, hashed also, then Google will know now that this email has been inserted in multiple websites, because all those websites are using the same conversion methods or the same pixels. And in that way, Google will know if a particular user is now doing a market research and is now interested in buying something and doing some research and putting in some leads in all kind of platforms or all kind of websites, just to get to see, and they're ready to buy. And once they know that, then they will serve the right ad. And of course, we will hope that they will buy from you once you serve your ads to the right customers. Okay, so again, why this matters? As we said, if we get a high matching rate, high match rate will give us better understanding, or they give the platform better understanding which type of users they want to serve your ads to. Okay, so if you tell them this user is good user for me, then they will go across all their database, all their user behavior, the users that they have in their platform, and they will say, okay, which user is ready to buy ads as this user that just bought from you, and then they will serve the ads right to those users. That will give you smarter bidding. You'll be able to track those users and get them to buy more, and it will give you stable attribution, which basically means if a user went through multiple devices and they went through all kind of browser restrictions, then they'll still come to you. They will still be able to get your ad and target you, and then your ad get attributed with the conversion that was there. Next up, all right, so how Google retreated the hashing. I think we discussed it a little bit. So basically, it depends. It doesn't really matter if the data is sent as is, as email and phone, or as hashed, because Google will still get the right information. And of course, it all depends on your consent, on the consent settings that you need from your market. But again, Google would know how to treat it both when it's hashed and when it's as in raw form. That's good to know. And one thing you need to know, as we said, the consent is still there. You need to ask for consent from the users. It's not something that you can neglect. There's nothing that is worse when you share information. Where you I can see that my camera is off here. Let me see here. So as we said, the conversion here is you need to have consent for the users, and you need to have you need to ask for the consent, because this is, again, depend on the market. It really can affect your exposure to fines and basically legal risks that you have in your market. I will now go into a small demonstration, small demo, you can say, live demo. So if things will not work as they should, maybe we will it's a WooCommerce website with an example, with a store with fake products that you can test and see, and just test your tracking. Basically, it's not a real store. So I can make a full purchase here with very funny named items here, like big heart-shaped dog tag for a winder. For the Twinder. But this is the website. Okay, it just gives you an opportunity to check a website and see how it works. So what I want to do now is to show you what's the correct way of implementing enhanced conversions using Google Tag Manager. So to do that, first of all, you cannot forget to add the Google tag. Okay, this is the Google tag. It's very simple implementation here. I made an example here. It's just this is the ID that you take from the conversion tracking. Again, I'm not getting into that. I think most of you got to figure out how this one works. So we're going into the actual conversion that we want to track. And one thing to explain about this one, we have a form listener here for the Elementor forms. Okay, so that will fire a data layer event just to basically to track all the forms in the site. And I have an example here of a form, Elementor form, which you can see here. This is an Elementor form, and we will track this form on our website. So the way to do this is to add a Google tag. So conversion tracking, and I will add the same example ID that I have here. And then you will have to add your conversion label. Again, I'm not getting into that. This is something that probably is pretty basic. Let's do it like this, ABC, right? So that's the conversion. Okay, so we will have to have a conversion for the basically the form. I already know the event that we will have there, so I will create it right away. Okay, consent, and sorry, this one will be, this is the name, this is the data layer that will come up. Okay, so Elementor form submit, that's the data layer event. I just created it, and that is the, okay, that's the conversion tracking for Google Ads. But together with, sorry, this one, here we go. What does he want? Okay, let's do it like this. Okay, so, and another thing we need to add here is another tag, that this is something quite new that Google added. It's the user provided data event. Okay, so that's the value we need to add here. And then we need to add the parameters, right? So this is the parameters that we have here, that again, those are the identified information that we are sending in. And here we can send it, you know, we can send the email, the phone, first name, last name, street, city, region, country, postal code. And a good way to do this is to have a value here, or like a variable that contains the data from the data layer. And I've prepared a data parameter, a variable here with the user provided data that contains all the information. Okay, this is the information. You can see it here. So this is basically mapping up all the fields of all the parameters, and that is for the form. Okay, so let's see once more, another check. Okay, so I will save this. Sorry, we need a trigger, add a trigger, and that will be for the same trigger as the form. So it will send out in the same time as the form, and Google will do the matching. So this event will happen together with this form submit. So we can do it like this, call it the form submit, just for the name. Okay, once we have that, we can do a preview. Preview. We will go into the form itself. Let's do it like this, directly into the form example. Okay, we fill out the form. Let's call it Daniel Saada with all my emails. Let's make it like this and send. Now the data that got in, let's see it. Elementor form submit, you can see the data layer. This is the data layer that is fired because we have the form element, the form listener for Elementor forms, and it will give us all the data in the right way. You can see the name, first name, you can see the last name, email, phone, and the other parameters here of the form and things that happen. But let's see what is being sent. So if I'm going into the tags, so the conversion tracking, I've sent, let's see here, conversion, I've sent all the information. This is the conversion without the values. Okay, and then the user provided data, I've sent in all the information you see here. So it's in the email, the first name, last name, it's all here. And you can see that it's being fired. The phone has been missed somehow. Well, yeah, maybe you had a small bug, but the phone also needs to be here. So the email is here, and the phone, the first name and last name are all here. And in this way, you're firing the event in the right way. You're sending it both in the as an event or as a conversion for Google Ads, and as a user provided data tag together in the same time. See that this is the data layer event. So sending it in the same time like that. All right. So that was the small example. Let's continue to the presentation, and I will get back to the example later on. So we discussed about enhanced conversion. Again, very brief example of how to do that on your platform. Let's go on to the next slide. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the server side, the role of server side tracking. Okay, server side, another big buzzword that is being shot out there for quite a long time, a few years now, but it's only been started to take larger effect in the last, I say, year and a half, something like that. It really got to a mature place in the market, and you can actually say this is a standard. So whoever does not use server side and enhanced conversions basically do not. They're not in the say, again, as this presentation said, modern conversion tracking. So you really need to have those two things working together. But let's dive into what is server side really is. And server side is basically something that we use for getting the data to the next to the platform. Let's say keeping the data and firing it to the next platform. At the moment, the data lives in the browser on our website, and we need to bring it to the platforms. But again, we said we had a lot of ad blockers, we had a lot of problems with cookies and data control. So all of that needs to happen somewhere. So you need to bypass all of that. And the server side is basically where it all happens. So one of the key things for server side is, first of all, you want to deal with ad blockers. Right? How do you deal with ad blockers? You need to have a server container. Again, in my website, I can get back to it again. In my website here, I have something called a tool called Stape. Again, there are many vendors in the market, but what Stape allows me is to change the script of Tag Manager. Okay, so if I'm looking now at how Tag Manager is looking, okay, this is the Tag Manager. I'm actually firing it through something called custom loader, or basically firing from my own domain. Right? The Tag Manager, see, this is the Tag Manager script. Okay, I'm firing it from my own domain. Okay, so data.danielsaada. That's really crucial. Again, I can zoom in if it's a bit small. Okay, so that's basically that gives me the option for getting all the data, bypassing ad blockers, and allowing me to get more data. There's a similar solution with Google Gateway. Google Gateway, so a few words about Google Gateway. It's very easy plug and play that you can actually do and get the same results here. But the actual results of the increase in performance is not there yet. So what we usually recommend for our clients is to go with the full server side, and that is to have a dedicated server like Stape or like Google Cloud or Taggers or other tools that are out there. Cookie User-Centric has a solution. So all of them has a solution that gives you full server-side tracking and then bypass the tracking in a better way. You see that there's no other, there's no other tag manager script that are running in the background. It's only this one. So and because it's my own domain, the ad blockers will not block those requests coming out from my website. That's really crucial. So that is one thing. Another thing, and I'm getting back to the presentation. Another thing here is that we want to extend the lifetime of the cookies, and this is again a very advanced feature that allows you, because you own the server now, you can extend the lifetime of the cookies. And when we talk about the cookies, we have each platform has its own cookies. You have the same cookies that has the parameters for the GCLID in Google Ads, or the cookies that have the FBC for Facebook, the FBCLID, the parameter in the URL, and for TikTok has its own parameters. So we store those cookies for a longer time in the server, and when the users are coming back and are identified, they basically get the same cookie injected into their browsers, and in that case, you extend the lifetime of the cookie, even if the browser on the user side have deleted the cookies, because you insert the same cookie that they had before. So that's a really key feature to get better attribution and extend the lifetime. And when you extend the lifetime, you can actually get to a few months extension. So instead of 7 days, recognizing the user for a few months or even half a year or even longer, then that gives you a lot of benefit. So that's really good. And another part here is data control. As you can see, we have a lot of things that we need to deal with. So PII, that's the personal identifying information, the email and the phone. We can have a lot of control here and hash the data for users that are concerned about privacy. We can do all those hashing in the server, and that is totally gives us control of the data for, basically 100% control of the data, because this is your server now. It's not some platform or something like that. It's your own data now. That's really crucial. And then if you implemented both, that's the best of all worlds. Okay, so enhanced conversion give you the identity and solve the identity problem, and then the server tracking give you the delivery problem. That's the problem that you have with when things are getting blocked in the browser or in the device. Okay, so together, both of them give you the best case scenario. You have more data and they collect everything. Okay. Right, let's move on. Okay, so a little bit about the architecture. The architecture here is, you can see the browser and you see the hashing, server side, and then it splits up. That's totally fine. And another thing we need to remember, so we discussed a lot about Google Ads and a little bit about Facebook, but every platform has its own name for the same concept. Okay? In Google Ads, we call it enhanced conversion. In Facebook, we call it Meta, we call it advanced matching. TikTok call it also advanced matching. Microsoft Advertising, enhanced conversion again. Pinterest, enhanced match. And Snap, advanced matching. So in every place, you have the same concept with different name. Okay, yeah, so that's that. Let's continue, and then if you sum up the value of sending in more if you see the value of getting more data and more conversions, and you get a higher quality score, the goals, the conversions will be higher, and that basically means you get better audience, you get better tracking. You have a lot of information that is coming in, and that improves your profitability when you're targeting your ads. And again, it works on every platform, on Shopify, WordPress, Webflow, whatever platform you are able to do this implementation together with server-side tracking and enhanced conversion. All those platforms support this, and even custom code. Even if your website is totally custom, built on a JS environment, everything works. Everything is basically can work and are able to send this data in a correct way. All right, let's talk about offline conversions. Offline conversions, it's another cool method. So what I want to talk about here, this is the another way to complete the picture with those users. So when we talk about offline conversions, it's usually conversions that happen on a phone call, in a meeting, it could happen in a store, right? So that's really crucial when you want to get more of your users and report them back into the platform. And I want to show you another method here, a good method to report in the conversions as an offline conversion, and that really help my customers with Google Ads performance. So once again, we will go back to the example here. And to show the offline conversion, I'm going now into the Google Ads platform. And here in the Google Ads platform, I will go into Tools and then Data Manager. And what I want to show you here is a way that I can report in conversions from other platforms. So I don't know which CRM you're using. You can use HubSpot or Zoho or any email marketing, Active Campaign or Salesforce or Shopify. It doesn't really matter. But the thing is, you can connect even smaller and easier tool to connect, like Zapier, right? But the example I want to give you today is belonging to a Google Sheet. So I will go into the platform. I will connect a new platform, Sheets, and I will connect Google Sheets. And as you can see in this integration, you can use it through a third party, or you can use it through a direct connection. So I will choose direct connection, and I want to use the conversion option because the conversion will give us more. We can report it into the platform. And a good way to do this is that you can just create this as an offline conversion. But in some cases, you want to combine the website data with your offline conversion. So it will be the same conversion, and you can report it in and target that audience in such a way that will you have one metric to look at. So you're basically looking at one metric, and that's it. So I will connect it to one of the website conversions. I think it's valuable because it is allowing you to look at one number and optimize towards that number. So I will do it through here. All right, so this is, I will just, again, I know it says sign up, but I will treat it as conversion, the purchase conversion. So let's treat it like this. This is a website conversion, and then we need to continue. Okay, we will connect the Google Sheet. Yes, next. Okay. Yes, continue. And then we will choose the file, the right file. Browse and this one. A test transaction. I created the file here. By the way, the file looks like this. You have the date, you have the transaction ID, name, last name, phone, email, purchase value, currency. You have the postal code, country, and GCL ID. Again, you can have more parameters here, and if you're managing sales, offline sales, you can have an Excel like that. You just add your metrics or your purchases, and then that will be reported in. So connecting everything, and now we need to map. So you can see here we need to map the date, the transaction ID, okay, from all the fields. You click in, you have the field. So GCL ID is here. You also have the more privacy oriented parameters. You have the email, the phone, and IP address can be added. Again, a lot of information can be added here. You have the city, first name, last name, city, postal code, state or region code, and country code. And then the value. So you have purchase value, currency, that's good. Last parameters, again, we said the consent is important. So this one is, again, cannot be neglected in the relevant markets. But again, you need to insert the consent. You can add it into the file, and that will be mapped in the right way. And that's it. Okay, perfect. So that will give you now the conversion. That will give you the conversion on the offline conversion right into your Google Ads campaigns. So that's really can contribute to your performance. That is the offline conversions. So that's good. We talked about that. Right, common mistakes. Let's talk about common mistakes. This is the offline conversion. All right. Common mistakes. So again, in my three examples here that I showed, that there are some places where we use the full email instead of hashed email, and we used the table that I provided was not in the right format. But again, this is out of the case. Common mistakes, right? So if you turning on enhanced conversion in settings without confirming the data layer tags, okay, this is really important. There's in the settings of the conversions, you need to choose which type or where the enhanced conversions are coming from. You can show it here in the platform. So if you go to goals, measurement, conversion, and then settings, you need to turn on and see from which place the enhanced conversion will come. Okay, so enhanced conversions. This is for leads. We have the enhanced conversion here. So you can choose where they are coming from. So Google Tag Manager, of course, if we are talking about Tag Manager. And yeah, so that's enhanced conversions. Other mistakes. Client-side only. Ignore server-side setup, leaving data vulnerable to ad blockers. So of course, use the server-side, full server-side as we recommended, not the Google or the gateway solution. It will give you more reliable data at the moment. Again, the solution can change, but at the moment, the full server-side will give you more advanced data, that will optimize your campaigns in a bit better way. No consent logic. Again, a lot of companies need to have consent, and in relevant market, it is very, very important, and it can give you huge fines if you're not dealing with that in the right way. And then lastly here is incorrect formatting. So there are a few things that you need to know about emails and phone numbers. There's a particular format and particular way to send in the emails and the phone. So it needs to be lowercase, and with the phone, they need to be with the country code and the plus sign, and then the country code. That's really crucial for the phone number to work properly. So that are the common mistakes. All right, final takeaways. So cookies are dying. We gotta move. We gotta do something about it. Identity is the new currency. You got to change your tracking to send in the enhanced conversions. Without that, you will lose your data. You will lose a lot of money. You will leave money on the table, and that will be there for your customers, for your competitors to take. Server side is the infrastructure. This is the new standard. Without infrastructure on the server side, you will not be in the modern conversion tracking. You will not be able to track the conversions in the right way. And with Tag Manager, you can do one setup for many platforms. So as you saw in the examples that I showed you, you have one platform where you can see everything together. Okay, so that's that, and we got to the final slide here. But are there any questions here that we can ask, or we can answer? Is there anything that we want to talk about here? So, what is the Shalev? Do you have to me about questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So, we had the first question. What is the cost of server-side tracking, and what expenses are involved?
Right. So the cost really varies between the type of implementations and depend on how many tags you're sending in. So in terms of that, it could be vary from a few $100s to a few thousands, depends on the complexity and the platforms. And in terms of costs, if you're using vendors, let's say if you want using vendors for your let's say it's a Google Cloud or Stape or Taggers or something like that, then the cost, the monthly cost you usually have, if you want to calculate, usually it's quite generous. So a few tens of dollars, like $20, $50, will get you a long way. If you have a website with a few 100,000 users, then it could get to, let's say, $100 around that area. But that's sort of the case for those tools and for those for that capacity. Any more questions? I can see another question here. Okay, so if you switch to server-side tracking, do I have to remove client-side tracking, or is it recommended to run both at the same time? Right, great question. What you need to do there, so that really is a key here, because as marketeers, we really want to have, we want to send in as many signals and give the right signals all the time. Okay, so client-side has its advantages. It's not only so if you send things on the server, if you send data on the server, then you have to really know what you're sending in. You have to really map every field, and you have to know exactly what is being sent. But once you send as a client side, then it's a JavaScript. That means that the platform can collect other things from the website. It can collect your user agent in a better way. You can get your IP more easily. So there's a lot of places, a lot of things that you're more vulnerable to. So the platform can collect it without you even knowing about it. So, but in that case, for marketeers, they want to give that information. Again, depends on consent and depends on other things related to privacy, but as a general rule of thumb, you want to have both of them. Okay, so we want to have both of them. So I hope that answered the question. Any other questions? Shalev, are you there? Okay. So if there be any more question, we can answer in the comments. And I hope you had a good time and enjoyed this presentation. Yeah. Let's see you in the comment section, how you say. Thank you for everyone that joined today, and we will be in touch.